The Indian fans' wish has finally been fulfilled as Caitlyn Clark has decided to play in the WNBA again after altering her plans to play in the European League and returning to the United States. Though Europe was practically treating Caitlyn like royalty, preparing to place a crown on her head and make her the highest paid female in the league, it should be emphasized that the WNBA has a toxic culture and has been a hot mess with her throughout the season.
From the sounds of this interview, it seems like she's probably going to make more money overseas in EuroLeague than she did during this WNBA season.
WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, however, admitted her mistake, personally apologized to Caitlyn, condemned the prejudice, and pledged to make things right because, let's be honest, the WNBA has already suffered without Caitlyn Clark and cannot afford to lose her forever. What plans does the WNBA currently have? Will they actually fulfill their obligations too? In what particular way did they convince her to stay following all of that drama?
Apology is warranted to Caitlyn Clark, or they just need to.
Now, when was the last time you seen a sports commissioner apologize to a player and act that weak? Never, that is. Let's be honest, Caitlyn was on the verge of stepping down, accepting the bag, and taking on the role of global basketball spokesperson. Therefore, it was the height of desperation for the commissioner to go into full-on "we failed you" mode. This wasn't merely a publicity stunt they devised in a boardroom, it was intimate. The commissioner came forth and admitted that the WNBA had failed Caitlyn in a major manner by permitting dubious politics and overtly racist conduct to go place on and off the court while the league looked the other way.
Then, Cathy Engelbert took to social media late last night, clarifying in part, she said, quote, "There is absolutely no place for hate or racism of any kind in the WNBA or anywhere else."
The way the WNBA handles its drama isn't very well known. When they finally acknowledge that they let Caitlyn down, it's not just shocking, it's completely out of control. They seem to have finally come to the realization that they had lost the player, not just a person people watched because of Caitlyn, not simply because she was their star. And without her, the league as a whole was in danger of flatlining, ticket sales plummeted, and viewership fell precipitously. The WNBA didn't simply make a mistake, they were looking down on themselves. And Caitlyn was essential to the ship's survival.
But the WNBA has been a mess this year. It has been so unprofessional, and they need to step it up. And they need to step it up
by turning down that beautiful European gig. Yes, you made a mistake, but you're going to correct it now, she says, nor is this solely about her. She's forcing the league as a whole to examine themselves honestly and start tackling the problems they've been putting off. She wasn't just apologizing for show. It served as a wake-up call for the WNBA and its supporters, who are adamant that things will change and that Caitlyn is at the forefront of this movement. She has stated that she will now attempt to adapt to the WNBA's past actions. The WNBA will lose more than simply Caitlyn the next time if they don't change their behavior.
I think it'll definitely be a little bit of an adjustment period for myself, not really.
The WNBA realizes that they cannot afford to make a mistake again now that Caitlyn is back, but on her terms. Instead of just getting their star back, Caitlyn's reappearance offers them the chance to entirely alter their story. Basketball isn't the only topic here, it's about fixing what's damaged. Furthermore, Caitlyn is in charge of everything. We have never witnessed a power transition like this. And for years to come, it will be the story that people discuss.
I'm telling you right now, if the WNBA can get away with this, what's gonna happen next is one of the biggest robberies.
They were the major protagonists in this horror show, and it turned out that Caitlyn had been dealing with a lot of trash both on and off the court. The investigation into the league's internal issues turned up more than a few bad actors. This was a full-blown controversy. Oh no, you had to assume that the names of Alyssa Thomas and Angel Ree would be brought up. According to reports, these two had been using derogatory language, making racist comments, bullying, and hard fouls. And because Caitlyn versus Angel did not do well in terms of viewership, the league chose to ignore it.
Try to implant racism and imply that everyone is racist because they don't agree with them. And they try to put that into everything that they're doing, by then responding and saying, if you don't agree with me, you're racist.
Caitlyn had been silently enduring this for months, hoping that someone would intervene. However, the WNBA essentially ignored it, pretending it was merely a friendly competition. But Caitlyn eventually had enough and declared, "I'm out of here," since Caitlyn wasn't just a superstar, she was the superstar the league saw they had just committed the greatest error of their lives. Not to mention what the WNBA did. When she left, ticket sales plummeted, viewership plummeted, sponsors stopped paying, and more. Indeed, they moved from downplaying things to openly insulting Caitlyn and the supporters, which is not how the WNBA operates. Believe me, this had never happened before and was a clear sign that the league was in serious trouble and realized they were in danger.
They really felt like it was a missed opportunity from Cathy Engelbert to really address and say, we don't support this sort of behavior in our league. And Brianna Stewart was another player who, after her game yesterday, came out and really echoed those sentiments and said that as much as the players love this sort of influx of fans that have come from this rivalry, at a certain point, enough is enough, and that's what they really hope.
But despite all that was going on, Caitlyn wasn't waiting for an apology. Rather, Europe made her an offer that would have brought her the greatest salary of any female player in history. Folks, we're talking about more than $10 million a year. In a move that few anticipated, the WNBA was unable to handle that life-altering sum of money. The WNBA outbid Europe in certain respects. You did read correctly, yes. The league, which is notorious for giving pitifully cheap salaries, unexpectedly found a sizable quantity of money to give to Caitlyn, since the league would have disintegrated. Without her, they believed they had no other choice. Caitlyn is not only the WNBA's voice, but also its lifeline, and the league cannot afford to make the same mistake twice. Now that Caitlyn is back on her terms, the league's whole future depends on her. Additionally, you can be certain that they are aware of this. The next time, the WNBA will lose a lot more than just Caitlyn, if they don't start performing better right away.
And the Fever are going to be over 200,000 higher than the next highest total attendance in league history.
Clarkonomics, my friend, Clarkonomics.
For it isn't even subtle. When Caitlyn Clark departs the WNBA, ticket sales hit an all-time low, and the league as a whole starts to fall apart more quickly than a broken lift. During Caitlyn's first season in 2024, Crash and Burn's viewership was halved. She was basically in charge of the entire business, not just playing basketball. Yes, that was historic in addition to being spectacular. Her games drew an incredible average viewership of 1.8 million, propelling the WNBA to heights they hadn't even dreamed about in decades. Add that 1.8 million, please. The WNBA had never witnessed figures such as
over the first half of the season at the highest in league history. Player-specific merchandise, including jerseys and t-shirts, have seen a staggering 1,000% increase in sales. Additionally, sales of league-specific merchandise like the popular orange WNBA hoodie are also up 200%. The top-selling WNBA player merch, Caitlyn Clark, #1 in jerseys.
When Caitlyn got on the court, everything was totally different. In addition to selling out the stands, the Fever's games became the most sought-after tickets in town. Sales of her jerseys were extremely high. I hope you have luck finding a seat if you wanted to see her perform. All of the games were sold out. In essence, the WNBA was profitable due to Caitlyn Clark. However, everything stopped selling things as soon as she departed. No one was hurrying to acquire tickets, and the arenas that had been crammed with screaming fans began to resemble deserted towns.
Since Caitlyn Clark was eliminated from the playoffs, WNBA ratings have declined 50%. They have lost half of their audience in less than a week, and it's only going to get worse from.
However, it seemed as though someone hit the hype train's emergency stop button, causing it to abruptly and spectacularly crash as soon as she even hinted that she might be leaving. More people left the league than left a terrible film, according to fans. Let's talk about the specifics. 2.5 million people watched the Fever's 2020 for playoff debut, which was practically a WNBA first. The next round of games hardly made half of that sum after Caitlyn's exit. Additionally, attendance at the semifinals, which are supposed to be the games that attract the most people, dropped precipitously from 1.8 million to barely 64,000. Everyone appeared to say, "Yeah, no thanks, we're doing fine." Good, Caitlyn said after she stopped playing.
The female Suns were averaging close to 2 million viewers when they were playing against Caitlyn Clark. These are the same female Suns that claim Caitlyn Clark is not the only draw in the WNBA. Sunday night against the Minnesota Lynx, 654,000 viewers.
Not surprisingly, after seeing their fan base and financial resources disappear along with Caitlyn, the WNBA was willing to do everything it took to win her back. The league took a serious hit to its finances and reputation. Additionally, they apologized for more than just making apologies with Caitlyn. The league as a whole recognized they needed her and couldn't operate without her. Therefore, it was partly about preventing the league from disintegrating. The WNBA was not only in crisis but also on life support, so the commissioner had the defibrillator in an effort to shock the league back into relevance.